This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Sometimes to really understand a trial unfolding right in front of us, you have to look back a little bit, not just at the evidence, not just at the headlines of the day, but at the echoes. Because Donna Adelson, as unique as she may seem and feel, she's not. She's not the first narcissist to want to take the stand, to sit in her chair and pout and give this face and that face and try to manipulate others around her. There's been many others that have come prior to Donna Adelson. And on our very first live episode of Hidden Killers Live, we're going to be going through some of those moments all the way back to 1989, all the way to more recent day with Alec Murdaugh and others. Some of the other cases that tell us what we're seeing here, like I said, in 1989, San Diego society was transfixed by the story of a woman named Wendi Broderick, the picture-perfect wife and mother who, after years of bitterness and control battles with her ex-husband, walked into his bedroom and executed both him and his new wife. Wendi never showed remorse, and to this day, she insists she was the real victim, that the humiliation and loss of control justified the bloodshed. Fast forward to Donna Adelson, different facts, different courtroom, but the posture feels similar. The tight control, the cold logic, the rewriting of her own role. Like Wendi, Donna positions herself as the aggravated matriarch, the one holding the family together. While the evidence suggests she was orchestrating its darkest act, this isn't just Wendi. We've seen it with Pamela Smart, Susan Smith, Casey Anthony, defendants who believe they could control the narrative. Outsmart investigators and reframe reality itself don't always work out so well. So we watched Donna Adelson testify probably this week, sitting across from prosecutors. The real question won't be just about her words, but whether history is repeating itself. Another defendant convicted or convinced she can hold the story together even as it comes apart in real time. Joining me, obviously, welcome, Stacey Cole, Todd Michaels. Yes, here we are. This is our first live edition of the program.
Exciting.
Yes, it is. And
did either of you sleep poorly last night worrying about this? Yeah, me too.
Yes.
I was waking up and it was like the radio dream, except it was happening in my basement. And now it's come home. Now I got to just hang up the cap and call it a day. No, but it's I was a little like, I don't know, but it's the same thing we're doing every day. We're just live now. So I want to say and welcome everybody who's watching us out there on YouTube, on X, or Twitter or Facebook or wherever it may be. Please join in. Tell us your thoughts on the cases that we're following here. We'll go to you from time to time and see what your thoughts are. And at some point, a phone number will be introduced. That's coming. We'll be able to hear each other's voices. It's this concept. It's really neat. It's really neat. People are they don't do that anymore. People don't use their phone. People don't have conversations much. It's always texting. It's always this. It's always that. We're the old people now. But it's true. I mean, I've noticed it over on our other program, Real Ghost Stories Online. Just people, they'd rather write in their story. They'd rather than call it in these days. It's different. I don't know. I think you lose something there, though.
Is there somebody in your life that you've never spoken to on the phone? Because somebody just popped up into my head that I've known for a little bit that
never spoken to on the phone.
Never spoken. We've texted. We've seen each other in person. I've never spoken on the phone.
No. Not that I can think of. I have been in relationships. I'm in one now. I've been with her for 6 months, so it's just me and her. But prior to that, there had been where it would have been like a month or two into the relationship before there was an actual phone call. So yeah,
isn't that bizarre?
It is because it's just texting. Yeah. Someone who had some issues with communicating with their significant other, Wendi Broderick. We'll go all the way back to 1989, and let's take a look at this case. You're going to see a lot of interesting connections in terms of demeanor. I think that's the biggest thing with this. The demeanor of Betty Broderick, the attitude of Betty Broderick, very much it's her world and everybody else is playing along in it. In this first clip we're going to take a look at, she isn't describing a plan to murder. She's describing a mission really of self-preservation, that she simply had to make it stop. The victims vanish. Her pain becomes the justification, a lot like Donna Adelson. Take a look.
Should have had this queued up. Stand by. It's coming.
Gosh, Todd, this is our first day.
I remember leaving my house, backing out of the driveway and leaving. I remember that, but I don't remember at which point I decided where I was when I decided not to go to the beach and go to Dan's house. All the way to Dan's house, I was just thinking, I've just got to make this stop. I just got to make this stop. I'm not going to live another day like this. I can't wake up just being absolutely at his mercy anymore. So all the way there, I just kept thinking, I've got to make this stop. I've got to make this stop. And I don't remember what even road I took to get there.
It's an interesting way. I mean, you look at her prism. Look at the way she's looking at things. And this is more of a psychological study, I think, by watching her than it is. She's just like Donna. It's look at the way she's framing it. Because if you want to try and understand Donna, and I think that's the hardest thing everyone's having to do, you got to understand how her prism works. And look how Betty's works here. It was still about her. It was about, I got to make this stop. But what do you have to make stop? I mean, you have agency, but so oftentimes people forget that little fact.
They do. And did you catch the cadence in which she spoke?
Mm-hmm.
That really caught my attention, that she felt, it didn't seem like panic or fear. It felt like, this is something I rehearsed. You people need to hear exactly what I'm saying. It felt rehearsed to me.
It's yes. Yep.
I would say solutions oriented in if you're speaking like a corporate human being, you know, where it's like, we're very solutions oriented here. We like to find paths to solve problems. And I'm just going to speak in these terms for the next 35 minutes. You'll get nothing out of it, but we're going to find solutions that are oriented to solving the problems or the problems that we have here.
I don't that at all.
That's like every corporate everything. But she's talking about it more like, I needed to get Tide Pods, the ones without bleach, because the bleach ones, they make my skin kind of itchy. So I had to get those. Just with this, the cadence you were talking about of not the gravity of what it is.
Yeah.
You know, someone else who talked about things that didn't have gravity, it seemed to them, Karen Reed. That was another case where she never took the stand, but in interviews, she talked very much of just matter of fact. And at some point, you have to look at the cases though and say, okay, you're drilled with this day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is all people are talking to you about. At some point, yeah, you can't really be shocked at some point, I guess. I mean, because no matter how horrible the thing is, and I'm not going into accused or not accused, I'm not going to go into the Karen stuff, but at some point, it does become kind of second nature, and then people are ready to pounce and say, well, you don't have enough grief, enough empathy, enough this or that, or is it, this is the 50th time I've had to discuss this today.
Well, and people do find coping mechanisms. They put those walls up. They have to find a way to deal with things, and emotion leaves because you need to protect your inner sanctum, And so if you're grieving every time you talk about this story, you're just living in a state of panic and fear, and people can't persist that way. So I guess I can give a little bit of grace to somebody who's not showing a lot of emotion, but boy, when you're on the stand, I need to see something. You need to get really down deep and find that grief that you had before. Well,
and here's the thing: people do get into survival mode, and that's and then to protect the inner sanctum. I get that, but a narcissist like a Betty Broderick, a narcissist like a Donna Adelson, they're always protecting the inner sanctum. It's not a mode that they have to flip into when things get really bad. It is a lifestyle, and it's always about that. And that's why they're always thinking 8 steps ahead, or they think they are. And that's where you can better understand the motive. And then sometimes the poor decisions that they make as time progresses of, I got to protect, I have to be the pure one. Everything I'm doing here has to be the right thing. I'm doing it, and it's all for the right cause. And you end up then, putting $100 bills with Tide Pods in your washing machine and giving them to your son stapled together. Let's look more at Betty, because here's another interesting piece from back in '89 here. When pressed, Betty is not describing rational thought. She's describing anguish. She's painting herself as so overwhelmed that the outside world no longer existed. Sound like Donna or anything? Psychological fog where she, not her victims, is center stage. Check it out.
Were you clear thinking and seeing things clearly at that time?
The only way I can explain it.
Sustained. How would you describe how the world seemed to you at that time?
Your Honor, it's been asked and answered.
Sustained. Your Honor, I would like to make an offer of proof why it hasn't been.
Another question.
If I'm referring to how she was physically seeing the world at that time, it may be different than she's answered before.
Oh, okay, go ahead. You can answer that.
The only way I know how to describe it now is that there was all these thoughts just churning in my head, and there was so much going on inside my head. That's kind of like my eyeballs were turned backwards, and the whole world was inside my head because of all this anguish. And so I wasn't seeing where I was going, and it was like I was just inward, and there was all this anguish and kind of darkness and crazy thoughts. Felt like you were in hell, actually.
She's the glamour shots of narcissism.
Oh, that's one of the first things I thought of. It reminded me of a picture that my mom had done of glamour shots at the mall in the 80s.
And I'm not
like the pinnacle year for glamour shots.
And I'm not just saying it because she looks like she probably went to Cinnabon, decided glamour shots was a good idea.
Yes.
Got on the list, probably went back out to Hot Sam, got a pretzel, and then walked around, finally got called into glamour shots.
She went to Claire's first.
Went to Claire's. Yeah. Maybe stopped at the Deb for a few moments, maybe id. And then she decided it was time to get that glamour shot done. But no, but her... You know how glamour shots, everything is so overly accentuated because it's glamour shots. She is that with her narcissism and her theatrics. Yes, everything about it. She's so, and if you were, I know a lot of people are listening to this, but if you're watching it on YouTube, if you're not, just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. You can see the theatrics. You can see she's, I mean, this is probably about what Donna, about Donna's age in '89. So this woman, I'm sure, is right up there with Donna. And this, I'm going to guess, is probably the type of theatrics we would have seen out of Donna back at that moment in time. Maybe a little more over the top. Now she seems a little more, I don't know, run down a little more. I've been doing these theatrics. Y'all better just deal with my theatrics because that's how it is. But
if you're listening, though, did you notice like she whimpered while she was waiting for them to decide whether or not she could answer the question? She kind of went, and I hate to laugh at somebody else's unhappiness, but I actually giggled at that.
She was getting ready for her moment. You could tell it was like we're sitting here waiting for the camera, like we're waiting for the countdown, and you're kind of like, okay, is Mike ready? Is this ready? She was prepping herself for that moment when it was going to be question showtime, and she went for it. Selective amnesia is another interesting thing. We've saw that with Wendi Adelson, another narcissistic tactic. When it's too harsh to deal with, I don't remember. She remembers arriving opening the door and grabbing her phone. But the act itself, that part is just a blur. A lot of gaps in her memory here. When we look back at Betty Broderick, let's take a look.
I want to go at least as much as we can, step by step. How would you describe your memory of that event? Do you have a clear memory of everything that happened?
What I can tell you in words now is it seems like a slideshow where slides are missing. You know, I remember driving up to the front of the house. I remember the front of the house, but I don't remember if I went to the front door, and I don't remember going around. And then I know I was upstairs, and I remember opening the door to the bedroom. So I see myself doing that, but then I don't see anything else. And then I know I grabbed the phone, but I don't remember leaving the house or running down the stairs or anything. So it's like there's these spots missing. It's like a flash of this, and then she's over there, and there's a flash of that.
Who's watching themselves in third person?
That's an interesting, I wonder, did she step out of her own body during this moment, that she's not seeing it from her perspective, but kind of an out of body experience? I know that sounds a little woo woo, but.
Well, I mean, I get that there probably does happen to some people. I don't feel that it's happening to her. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is, I don't know. She just seems so staged with it. The same way that Donna seems staged with it. The same way Murdaugh seems staged with it. There are certainly times where, trauma, I think, takes over. But this was more of a planned thing. I mean, this isn't, you walked in and she found, her husband cheating with somebody else, and then it was a fit of rage. And that's where those things can happen, the little flashes here and there. When you plan it out and you're this kind of, calm and collected about it. She transforms an execution into an accident. The gun just went off, she says. She doesn't remember pulling the trigger. This is one of the many changes to her story as her testimony continued on. It's a way of doing the act without ever actually owning the intent. Let's take a look.
And what happened when they went towards, what's the next thing you remember after they went towards the phone and said, call the police?
I kind of like screamed, like this huge scream, like, no! And the gun went off, and I just remember one time and one noise, but I know that I must have done that because you have to do that on the gun. But it was so fast. I just went, ah!
Now, did you scream out loud?
I felt like I made a huge scream, but I don't know if I made any noise. It was just all sensation. You move in, and then they moved, and then it was this huge explosion and scream and all at once.
Do you remember actually pulling the trigger?
No.
Is that a gun where you have to pull the trigger?
Yes, I asked people that day, do you have to pull the trigger? And they told me that you had to, but I don't remember pulling it even the first time.
I hate laughing at this, but I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
Especially as, and not to, discredit you guys as men, but as a woman, I want to be on her side. But there's just something here that
she's lying like a 5-year-old.
That's what it feels like to me, and I feel bad about it.
Yeah, it's there's a cadence to it. There's a rhythm to it.
I've never heard of a gun that you don't have to pull the trigger on. That would just seem like such an odd question.
Like,
they told me you have to pull it. They well, whoa! It exploded in my hands. It was whoa. And the only time that happened was when me and him were on our honeymoon, and it went woo, and it exploded in my hands, and I said, never again.
Tony went there.
I was just going to say, we're how many minutes in?
Almost 20 minutes in. Almost 20 minutes into the live show. But,
22, I think. Oh,
we're
yeah.
starting 20. A drinking game on this. Good morning, everyone. Little Kahlua in the coffee.
I would have had money on me, but
yeah. You got to get out to the come and go, get your gas and everything, and
Well, We'll get there.
This is another interesting look at Betty Broderick and her way of thinking as we compare it to Donna Adelson. This is Betty going on, only Betty going on, spinning jail as a sanctuary. In her telling, incarceration wasn't about accountability. It was about safety and finally free from Dan's power. So, of course, the world aligned to fit her. It wasn't that it was the other way around, the way things are actually going. Once again, she becomes a protected victim, not the perpetrator. Take a look.
When you first got to jail, how were you feeling?
I don't remember getting taken there. I know they put me in a suicide cell, stark naked for the first night I was there. And I was real shocking, and I don't remember being there or much of what happened. I just went where people told me to go.
Yeah. Now that first day or the first couple of weeks that you were there, how were you feeling emotionally or mentally?
It's hard to I was very confused, but I was safe in jail. You know, they locked the rest of the world out when they locked me in this little corner cell, and that was good for me because then Dan couldn't get me.
I bet there's a level of truth to that in her way. I mean, she does believe the things she's saying to a certain extent. It's just she says it so matter-of-factly, it looks so ridiculous to the rest of us, but she seems to be completely oblivious to that fact. She can just keep going.
Is it possible that she's been so steeped in a horrific relationship that this is just who she is now? And even though it's wrong, what she did was wrong, this is who she became?
I'm going to guess it's the other way around, quite honestly. And seeing the kids' testimony on it, too. I watched them yesterday. They were on Oprah back in the early 90s talking about it. You know, was she so steeped? She wants you to believe she was steeped in a horrible relationship and she was a victim. Who was the one that created the horrible relationship? I'm going to guess it was more her. And then because it was so horrible of this hellscape that she created and no one's happy, she's going to blame other people rather than herself. And what does she do to still think she's a victim? She kills the people who she's enraged, or the person that she enraged, by being a horrible person to them. That's how narcissists react. That's what they do. They act horrible to you. And then when you finally react in some way, shape, or form, even if it's the smallest thing, some people will be very calm. I'm a calm person. Some people get like out of control. Like, what's wrong with you? You know, but no matter anything you react to them, you are going to be the one that's wrong because they are always going to be the one that is right. And they are their reactions to you, their horrible acting out, their tantrums, all of that is called for because of what you're doing over here or not doing or not giving them the attention. So I would think that's probably more of what's actually going on in that world, and especially from the testimony of her kids. On that old Oprah episode. This is a fascinating case. If anybody wants to get and take a look at it from back in the day, there are a lot of correlations here between Donna and her. Let's take a look at one more thing. Then we'll take a look at some Alec Murdaugh testimony as we prepare ourselves for Donna as she gets ready to testify this week. Here is one more from Betty. She's rationalizing why no one ever heard her express remorse. It's not that she didn't feel it, she says. It's that she couldn't share it. A dodge that lets her remain the misunderstood victim rather than the unrepentant killer. Take a look.
Did you write letters to newspaper reporters?
I corrected some articles. Yes, I corrected articles that I read that were wrong.
Okay. And did you write letters to celebrities, for example?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Did you write to Cindy Garvey?
Oh, I don't remember. Did I? I don't know.
There was nothing ever preventing you from saying anything about your feelings about what had happened in any of those letters that you wrote, was there?
No.
You were free to express your feelings about what had happened and how you felt about it, correct?
Yes.
And you had many phone calls, many phone conversations with people shortly after your incarceration. in which you were free to express your feelings about what had happened.
Well, I've already testified I wasn't free to express any feelings really, because I knew the letters were copied coming in and going out, and that the phone calls are listened to constantly. So I was, and even the visits are listened to. So everyone was pretty paranoid about that.
You were advised that the phone calls were not monitored. Your phone calls were never monitored. And you
Oh,
were
I don't know
advised-
that.
Okay. Are you saying that you felt that you couldn't express any of your feelings about what had happened because you felt that your letters were being monitored?
Yes.
And how would that hurt you or your case to say that you felt sorry for what you had done?
How would it hurt my case to say
How did
that?
the fact that you were being monitored prevent you from expressing your feelings like you've indicated? No one would let you express your feelings.
Because it just inhibited everything. I didn't know who would interpret those and get copies and switch everything around.
So are you indicating that you felt inhibited about talking to people about what occurred?
Yes.
You did write a letter, for example, to Amy Wallace shortly after you were in jail, correct?
That would have been one of the corrections of an article, I believe.
And in that letter, you start off by saying, I have pages and pages of notes setting the story straight, incident by incident. In most cases, you have the general idea, but the chronology and the facts are all twisted around. I'll call. We can talk. Neighbors and friends have bits and pieces. Only I know the whole truth. Are you saying that you were inhibited about telling her the whole truth as you saw it?
I was just correcting her article. Whatever she said that I felt was wrong, I wanted corrected.
Okay. Are you saying that you were inhibited about saying anything that you wanted to correct anything that had been
Yes.
written about you?
Yes, because I wouldn't have expressed the feelings that I'm talking about to a strange newspaper reporter.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, this is what Donna's setting her ass up for on Cross.
Well, and here's the thing. They both seem to have this, I guess, appearance that if I can just tell my story, you guys are going to believe me and I'll be vindicated.
Mm-hmm.
And your story's bullshit.
Yep. And oblivious to that. You wrote letters to, oh, did I? I might have. Maybe I did.
Don't be coy. Don't be coy on the stand.
Yeah.
You know? That's not the time or place.
They're clueless. Clueless, I tell you.
But boy, to have that kind of confidence, if I could wake up in the morning and have that kind of confidence to rule my day, I could own the world.
It makes you wonder, though, how have these people not accidentally driven off of a cliff? I mean, or they, I mean, in many ways they are. I mean, this is the metaphorical version of them driving off a cliff, but physically driving off a cliff, I wonder about too, where they're just like, that looks so beautiful. Maybe I should go over there. Woo!
No, and not in a Thelma and Louise kind of drive off a cliff, just a stupidity drive off a cliff.
Yeah, like they're convinced their cat Toonses can drive a car, and they're like, let's go. Toonses, the driving cat.
If you haven't seen Toonses, you need to look it up. It's an SNL skit. It's worth it.
One of the things that really stood out to me was in the Donna Adelson trial, when the people who really knew what they were talking about, the investigators, all that kind of stuff, she glared at them. Mm-hmm. And you saw that same thing in that last clip because somebody was questioning her on something that they had knowledge of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She didn't like it. So her demeanor was completely different.
Yep.
Well, it's somebody that she can't control. She can control that bubble of her family, but on the outside are people who are not under her spell. So how dare you question me? And it's that loss of control, and you start to see that panic come out as rage.
Yeah. They don't know how to handle it because most of their life they've had it really in check.
Yep.
Until now.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting to see this week. If, in fact, Donna does take the stand. As of now, I believe that is the plan. So
she better. I mean, we're looking forward to this.
They were today, as of right now, as ever recording this, there are other people on the stand for the defense. So they are calling other witnesses. I mean, Donna could be up as soon as today. I don't know. I've not dove into today's proceedings yet, but that's going to be, we're going to watch that thing, I think, straight through and probably comment when that takes place. And that's going to be in the coming days. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're going to take a look, we're going to break down who exactly is her attorney, you know, the doppelganger that looks so much like her and the love child of Tom Petty. We will be...
You do not disgrace the late, great Tom Petty.
I swear to God,
I think I posted that to you guys, didn't I? I sent that to you guys.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I think you did. Yep.
They look a lot alike, Stacey. And I love Tom Petty too. I was very sad when he died, but holy crap, yes.
Yeah. I tell you, Mary Jane's Last Dance. So we're going to take a look at who she is, where she's from, what her background is, why she's an attorney for Donna Adelson after already being a disgraced judge that was kicked off of the bench essentially, or resigned and kind of had a way of walking away from all of that. Another family matter that she was accused of trying to, kind of meddle in, using some of her power. Kind of sounds like Donna in some ways. That's coming up. Plus, Robin Dreeke going to be joining us, retired FBI Special Agent, Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. And we are going to break down the behind the scenes, the courtroom, or not the courtroom, but the police interrogation of Wendy's boyfriend, Jeffrey Lacass. And he reveals so much in this that he's not able to reveal on the stand. And we're going to learn a lot about the Adelsons directly from him and his basically deposition, if you will, from several years ago. And Robin will be here to help us break that down. Right now, though, let's go into Alec Murdaugh. And take a look at his performance on the stand as we get ready for Donna, another narcissist that, said, I got to get up there. I got to tell my story because, gosh darn it, people like me. So right off the bat, Murdaugh plants his flag. I did not shoot my wife and son. This is the famous opening line of Alec Murdaugh. Take a look.
Mr. Murdaugh. On June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, if you take a 300 blackout, such as this, and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime. Ever.
He was nodding. Did you see that? I think I missed that the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I did not shoot my wife or my kid. Nodding up and down. What? That's not how people normally speak, is it?
I did not shoot my wife.
I didn't. Yeah.
I did not shoot my. I mean, it's a weird thing to even do. Like, just even try and do it. Try and answer a question. Yeah.
It's hard doing the affirmative while shaking your head. Like, yeah, I totally want to go with you. Your body is just not trained to do that. It's weird.
And the thing is, the Alec Murdaugh trial was another one where if you were following it, there was a dramatic twist. And we're about to take a look at that here in a second, because Alec had told this story the whole time that he was at the house. He went up to the house and his wife and son were down at the feed room, but he was up at the house, like laying down. I forgot all the details because it's been a while, but his story was he wasn't down there. And then on the stand, it all changed. Suddenly he admits on the stand that he's been telling a lie in the murder trial of his family at the key moment of the murder. And everybody should just believe it because it's Alec and he has a lot of snot that comes out of his nose. So if you're triggered by people with snot flying out of their nose, this is your warning right now. Take a look.
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th, Did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Craw? Did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Why? Why are you lying? Why? What logical reason does one have to lie about the key moment when your family is being murdered if you had nothing to do with it?
And that's the $1 million question, really.
And then expect other people to just be like, oh, well, he lied about it because it makes sense. Well, because of this other thing that's going on over in his life. Well, that's two thoughts. Most people can barely get past half of one. Yeah. So to think that they're going to connect all these dots over here, Alec, and think that your addiction story is going to work, but that's what he attempted to do. He tries to offer some context. Opioid addiction and paranoia, he says, caused him to mislead investigators. And here is how he explained just that.
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car. That night, June 7th, after finding Mags and Paul, don't talk to anybody without Danny with you. All my partners were just repeatedly telling me that. I had a deputy sheriff taking gunshot test from my hands. I'm sitting in a police car with David Owen asking me about my relationship with my wife and my son. And all those things coupled together after finding them, coupled with my distrust for SLED, caused me to have paranoid thoughts. Normally, when these paranoid thoughts would hit me, I could take a deep breath real quick, just think about it, reason my way through it, and just get past it really quickly. On June the 7th, I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there. And I'm so sorry that I did.
He's like the George W. Bush of the Murdaugh family.
Oh, goodness gracious.
He has all the weird kind of I was thinking who does he remind me of? And I'm just George W. Bush.
A younger George, just
very animated. You could kind of you'd want to have a beer with the guy, but at the same time, the same reason everybody elected George W. Bush. And then it's when shit hits the fan, he might not be the best person to be in the power position that he's in. But that kind of feels like Alec Murdaugh in some ways. Mm-hmm. Just the, and the rest of his family, fairly successful. They got their shit going on, and there's Alec over there kind of effing things up. That's kind of what he reminds me of. What did you think of that story? I mean, do you think he believes that story? Was he more convincing to you than Betty?
Oh, there's a loaded question. This guy is just a flat out liar. There's so much in his life so much fraud in his life. Mm-hmm. And I've known a lot of people like that, more people than I'd like to admit that I've known about. I think they truly believe it because they have to. Not because they're trying to be nefarious, but because this is their world. So they have to buy into what they're selling. Mm-hmm. And I think they believe it at their core.
Yeah.
And that's what I get from him. He's just so full of bullshit, but even he's buying it.
I have to tell you, in watching him and putting these clips and stuff together, I was like, I feel bad for this guy. He looks like he's in tremendous pain. You know, there's parts of these clips where he's bawling and blah, blah, blah. And he's gotten to be a very good actor.
Yes.
Very good actor.
Well, look at the lifestyle he lost. So he may be grieving. I don't think he's grieving for what we want him to grieve for. I think he's grieving the loss of the control. I think he's grieving that he has lost the narrative here. Somebody else got a hold of it, and it was the law.
He obviously, you know, there's so many things that we can easily factually say he did. All of the financial crimes and the way he screwed people over in such horrible ways. I mean, taking money from families that were pretty much destitute and leaving them destitute.
And he wasn't. He didn't need this money.
No, he just took it and never gave it over to them. I mean, so his heartlessness we can see with the cash. The murder of his wife and son, I don't see how it could have been anyone else, but I do still wonder. Who may have pulled the trigger if it wasn't him. Do I think he was involved? Yes.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
But do I think he did it himself? I don't know. And the reasoning I know sounds extreme, and that's the reason they convicted him, though, was, you know, it was basically narcissistic collapse. It was familial side. And you're killing everybody around you that's going to be looking down upon you and is going to be, you know, giving you grief, and you're going to have to feel shame. And God knows narcissists don't want to feel shame. So rather than just run away from it, sometimes they will stop those very things that are going to bring that shame in. And that happened to be his wife and his son. And preventing that shame from reaching him, maybe in his drugged up state, as he fully admitted to being, you know, pretty still high up on the opiates and shit. Maybe that overrode everything. And it was, I got to get rid of them because I don't want to feel this. At the end of the day, once the high ends off and you're back to common sense thinking, you're like, I shouldn't have killed my family. But I wonder if that happened, or I do wonder if this was a hit of some sort. And I do wonder if more people were threatened in that. I mean, this is kind of the NBC Sunday night movie version of it, of were more people threatened in his family of like, I'm killing these two because you screwed this over here, or some other financial dealing he had that he screwed somebody out on. And you're going to take the rap for it. And if you don't, I'm going to kill everybody else in your family too. You know, I wonder. I mean, again, that feels like the made for TV, you know, movie, but this feels like a bad made for TV movie to begin with.
Yeah, it does. It's painful to watch. I also wish somebody would have given him a glass of water. Just the dry mouth, and maybe it's because we're in media and have been our entire lives, but
he didn't deserve a glass of water.
Oh, he was talking. The rest of us had to listen to it. I hate
Somebody
that.
should have given him a sponge with vinegar and held it over on a spike and said, "Drink, bitch."
Oh my!
That would have been a fun moment in that trial. Let's watch one more piece of Alec Murdaugh here. This is a key moment where he's addressing the victims. This is his apology. Let's watch and we'll discuss on the other side.
I'm sorry to my son Buster. I'm sorry to Grandma and Papa Keith. I'm sorry to both of our families.
Oh, this is the snot warning time.
Yep. Here it comes.
Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw.
And I think, if I remember right, when it was going on, it kind of kept going on in all the colloquialisms of everybody. And Mama Q, and Bubba Doo, and Clock-a-Coo. And then
what's the oh god, I can't remember the movie with Will Ferrell where he's a race car driver and they're doing the prayer at the table with the KFC.
Oh, that's Talladega Nights, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, thank you, baby Jesus. And I mean, they're just naming everybody from the Bible. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, and it's a strategy to make him feel folksy, to make him feel local. And Honest to God, now that this last summer was down in that part of the country for a week, the locals talk like that. They're very nice. They're very friendly. I loved it down there. I thought it was wonderful, but it made me think everywhere I went, I'm talking to Alec Murdaugh. And, especially when they bring up, Mama Q's grits, and then, Alec comes out and he's got, his, the specials on the restaurant menus. They have Alec Murdaugh specials at every restaurant in the South. It's really, it's amazing.
Stop.
I'm kidding. No.
For a second, I'm like, are you serious?
In the Low Country, yes. Yeah. I won't go into what that could possibly be, because that could get pretty bad pretty quick. But there, I don't know. I mean, he's a weirdly striking figure that I still have questions about. And we'll see if he gets another trial. That's the other end of it. It has nothing to do with Donna Adelson. But, if we're going to talk about possible acquittal, or not reasons for acquittal, but reasons for a retrial, Alec Murdaugh certainly cannot argue ineffective assistance of counsel. He had a good counsel, and he has been happy with it. But I don't know. The Tom Petty love child, I think you may have an argument or two to go on.
You're killing me.
Whether or not it's an effective assistance of counsel. In fact, the other day I had a chance to sit down and go through it and kind of give you a little report on who this is, who is representing Donna Adelson. There are so many questions. We'll take a look at this, and then on the other side, we'll come back with the retired FBI Special Agent Robin Dreeke to break down the police interrogation of Jeffrey Lacass, Wendi Adelson's boyfriend, from very, very early on in the investigation. But first, take a look at this.
This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
The name probably did not ring many bells when it first popped up in Donna Adelson's lead defense attorney file, but maybe it should have. Because once you back the curtain on her background, especially how she exited the Florida judicial system and somehow ended up being the attorney for Donna Adelson, it gets a little interesting. The choice to put her at the helm of a first-degree murder defense gets more puzzling and, frankly, more uncomfortable. When you realize the similarities between Jackie and Donna. Now, in no way am I saying Jackie is a bad person, a criminal, or anything of the sort. She's not. She's an attorney that had some issues in the past, and it looks like most of those were resolved in amicable ways. But if you look at her, just look at her, and look at Donna. Similar? Not just in looks, demeanor, personality. So who is Jackie Fulford? She's a former Florida Circuit Court judge, once a respected legal figure appointed by then Governor Charlie Crist back in 2009. She presided over cases in the Second Judicial Court, which includes Tallahassee and surrounding areas, a seasoned prosecutor turned judge. Fulford had a reputation for being decisive, some might say bold on the bench. She wasn't afraid to strike down major state initiatives like Florida's pension reform and a sweeping prison privatization plan, both of which she deemed unconstitutional. Those rulings made headlines. One of them was later overturned by the state Supreme Court. Still, she had clout. Now, behind the scenes, things were unraveling. In 2015, her career didn't just stall, it combusted. The Florida Judicial Qualifications Committee, or JQC for short, came forward with formal misconduct charges, not the kind of minor administrative infractions you sweep under the rug. These were big ones. Abuse of office, conflicts of interest, coercion, and worst of all, using her robe, her judicial authority, allegedly to influence cases that directly benefited her personal life. There's a little bleed over here, it seems like, into Donna land. The JQC laid out a roadmap of ethical landmines, each more damaging than the first. First, there was the political meeting. During a 2012 sheriff's race, Fulford made it clear who she supported. David Harvey, the incumbent, and a personal friend. She displayed a life-size cardboard cutout of him in her chambers. That's already not great. But then it got worse. A courtroom bailiff who supported Harvey's opponent, she told him he could no longer work in the courtroom. That bailiff was later fired. Fulford, a sitting judge, had blurred the line between impartiality and campaign loyalty. And she used her position to punish someone who disagreed with her, allegedly. Then there was the coercion allegations. In one of her cases, Fulford had a defense attorney with a major motion pending before her. Instead of allegedly mandating that professional distance that judges are required to have, Fulford asked him to do her a favor, allegedly, represent someone else in a totally unrelated matter for free, pro bono. The attorney reportedly felt like he couldn't say no. Not when the same judge was deciding whether his current client, facing 15 years, would go to prison or walk. That's a textbook definition of judicial coercion. She allegedly exploited her position to extract a personal favor, knowing full well the power imbalance in play. But perhaps the most damning accusation came from something a lot more personal. In 2013, allegedly, Fulford's live-in partner had a son, Trey Young, who was arrested on domestic battery charges, misdemeanor charges, open and shut, right? Well, not quite. As soon as Trey was booked, Fulford allegedly started making calls, and not just any calls. She reached out directly to the prosecutor handling the case, a prosecutor who had once worked for her. She allegedly started advocating for Trey hard. She allegedly helped him write his deferred prosecution agreement, the kind of legal document that would get the charges dropped if completed. She submitted it to the state attorney's office. She even showed up at meetings and jail visits, and wasn't just inappropriate, it was outrageous. She essentially became co-counsel in a case where the defendant was practically family, all while wearing the title of circuit judge. The JQC said this crossed every imaginable ethical boundary. It wasn't speculation, it was documented behavior. This wasn't a judge bending the rules to help the community. This was a judge bending the law to help her household, allegedly. And yet, despite all of this, the coercion, the meddling, the inference, allegations, Fulford never stood public trial for the misconduct. Why? Because just as the case against her started to gain traction, Fulford went on medical leave. She stopped presiding over cases and disappeared from the bench. And then came the twist. The JQC requested a medical evaluation, and that evaluation, which remains sealed and heavily redacted to this day, concluded that Fulford suffered from a permanent disability, one that interfered with her ability to perform her judicial duties. The JQC, rather than continue the misconduct proceedings, recommended involuntary retirement based on disability. No public hearing, no formal ruling on guilt, no censure. Just like that, Fulford exited stage left. The Florida Supreme Court signed off on it, officially ordering her involuntary retirement in September of 2015. From a legal standpoint, it was over. Fulford had no longer held the title of being a judge, but the questions, they never stopped because the timing was too convenient. The misconduct allegations were public and serious, the evidence was mounting, and suddenly a disability no one had previously mentioned took her off the bench before she ever had to answer for her actions in a public forum. What was the disability? We still don't know. That information is protected. Was it physical, mental, chronic, acute? Somehow allegedly interfered with her being able to be a judge. We still don't know. The court didn't say. What we do know is that the misconduct charges were real. Multiple attorneys and court officials backed them up, and they didn't go away. They were simply absorbed into the retirement narrative. It left a sour taste for many in the legal community. Some argued that Fulford used the disability claim as an escape hatch. Others argued she may have genuinely suffered from a condition exacerbated by stress. But either way, the judicial record remains incomplete. Now, fast forward a decade. Fulford is no longer a judge. She's back in private practice based in Tallahassee, taking criminal defense clients, including, and most recently, Donna Adelson. Yes, that Donna Adelson, the matriarch of the Adelson family, arrested for first-degree murder, solicitation, and conspiracy in the 2014 murder for hire of Dan Markel, her former son-in-law. A case built on recorded calls, informants, and years of investigative bricklaying. And in her corner stands Jackie Fulford, a former judge who not long ago was quietly removed from the bench under a cloud of misconduct. The optics, let's be honest, they're kind of rough. You have a defendant accused of orchestrating a murder to regain custody of her grandchildren and protect her family's wealth, being defended by a former judge who once allegedly inserted herself into a domestic violence case involving her partner's son in order to protect her household. If nothing else, it raises eyebrows. More than a few critics have asked, is this really the attorney you want at this table in the case this high profile, this high stakes? Donna? I mean, she looks a lot like you, not that that disqualifies, but what else is going on here? Why do you like her so much? And there's the question of competence. Fulford hasn't held public role since 2015. She hasn't been a judge in nearly a decade. Her legal work post-retirement hasn't made headlines until now. There's no question she's qualified on paper. She knows the courtroom. She knows the law, but does she have the experience to objectively lead? And what is objectively needed to navigate a conspiracy case of this magnitude, where wiretaps, murder, and family secrets converge? Judging by her opening statements, the answer is a big, clear no. At least if you want to be found not guilty. This is where things get especially strange, not just in the courtroom logistics, but in optics, because when you see Jackie Fulford and Donna Adelson sitting next to each other, you notice something. They don't just align professionally. They kind of mirror each other physically. Same posture, same polished yet stern expression, same tailored courtroom look. There's a haunting symmetry there, like a defense attorney and client separated only by a different cut of blouse. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, or maybe not. Because Donna Adelson is nothing if not image conscious. We know from wiretaps, interviews, and years of documented behavior that she's strategic about appearances, who she's seen with, who says what, how she's perceived. She's not outside the realm. It's not outside the realm of a possibility that when she sought out legal representation, she didn't just look for someone with credentials. She may have gravitated towards someone who reminded her of herself. Someone who projected a similar blend of confidence, control, composure, narcissism. I'm not saying that Jackie I have no idea. Someone who could reflect back the version of Donna she wants the world to see. Could Fulford's visual and emotional resemblance to Donna actually be part of the appeal? Could this be, in some layered way, a psychological power play, conscious or unconscious? A move to control the narrative through a lookalike, a surrogate, a self-styled emissary in heels? It is speculative, sure, but in a case already fueled by vanity, image management, and manipulation, it's not hard to notice the subtext, especially when it's sitting right there at the defense table, because this pairing isn't just legally unusual, it's visually uncanny. In a courtroom drama that already feels like a Greek tragedy unfolding on high-def monitors, Jackie Fulford isn't just playing defense, she might be playing Donna's reflection. And if that's true, if Donna Adelson chose an attorney not just for legal acumen, but because she saw herself in her, this case may be even more psychologically layered than we realized. Power, control, image, influence. Maybe the defense strategy started long before opening statements. Maybe it starts the moment you pick the person who will speak for you, the person you think can be you if the mask slips. And in this case, that mask looks an awful like Donna herself. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. If you're not already there, please check it out. Search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi to find us there. You can do that same search wherever you get podcasts to download us and take us wherever you go. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast. This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
I'm going to turn my mic on there, and welcome back to the program. We're joined now this hour, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. I want to start, Robin, by talking about Jackie a little bit there. We just got to hear a little bit about her background, where she's been, what she's done. You know, it's an interesting comparison, and I've seen a lot of people comparing the two over the last handful of days, not only in looks but in terms of personality. But what do you glean out of Jackie Fulford of what we've known so far?
Just kind of what you're already saying, Tony, and that is the comparisons are obvious to people from the outside, and what it looks like this family is doing. And regrettably, there's so many more personalities I want to dive into with this family.
Mm-hmm.
But they're living in an echo chamber. And when people are trying to live in an echo chamber, I don't think they're doing it by intention. It's just the way they are. They're going to surround themselves by people, images, and things that validate their own self-opinion and who they are. I think it's really exasperated a lot in this family with everyone that's involved. And not just of who they are, but who they think they are and who they're trying to be, because then that goes into what Charlie does as well with who he surrounds himself with. So it's pretty fascinating, unhealthy family dynamic we're seeing play out in many areas.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. Stacey, what was your thoughts on the doppelganger of Donna?
Oh, geez. I think we gravitate toward people who make us comfortable. And if you spend a lot of time staring at yourself in the mirror, I think that shows. I mean, it's just like a Cruella de Vil representation in my mind.
Yeah.
I guess it's that familiar sense of she's comfortable with that kind of person, with that piercing look. That's what she gravitates toward. I couldn't see her getting some compassionate lawyer. That wouldn't fit her persona at all.
Yeah.
I think it's spot on.
Do you think if she had her way, and we never heard any rumblings of this, but they went through several attorneys. I wonder if it was ever thrown around at some point in conversation of Donna wants to represent herself, but everybody's like, no, we're not going to let that happen. But she certainly seems like one that might bring that to the table as part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The police interrogation of Wendi Adelson's ex-boyfriend, Dr. Jeffrey Lacass, is what we're about to dive into here. And this is so interesting. I had a chance to take a look at it over the weekend. I know, Robin, you had a chance to watch. I think we all had a chance to see some of it here. And this is from way back, I believe, 2012, 13, 14, somewhere around there. This is shortly after the actual arrest and the charges against Sigfrido Garcia, Catherine McBonna, and I'm not sure if Charlie was arrested at this point in time or not. But it was very telling, because what he's able to reveal in this interrogation is far more than what we're actually seeing in court. And I think it gives us more data points, more information about who this family is as a whole. And what begins as suspicion on him quickly flips as Lacass unloads disturbing details about Wendi, her brother, the entire Adelson family, from Wendi saying life would be convenient if Dan wasn't around, to Charlie breaking about money schemes and even saying he wanted Dan dead. There is a lot in here, and we're going to work our way through it. Let's start out with this. When detectives had pressed Lacass on what he knew about the Adelsons, he recalled one conversation that really did haunt him a lot. He says, Wendi, confided that her brother Charlie had actually legitimately explored the idea of hiring someone to kill Dan. And I know we heard him say this on the stand the other day, but here's the very fresh way it came out the first time he was asked about it, answering not in a joking way, but in a very chillingly serious way. This is Lacass explaining that disclosure.
This is not to be useful here.
Let's not put it vague. Let's go with what you know specifically.
Wendi had reported to me that Charlie had considered all the options possible to take care of this problem. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And when she said it,
when did she disclose this to you?
I don't remember when. But she said it was chilling because she said, "Can I do something confidentially?" She said, I think Charlie kind of looked into some options, like literally saw how and why, how you would do this if you did it.
Let me ask you, Robin, on this. I mean, just before we get into more of Jeffrey's stuff, I know you had a chance to really watch this in full, so I want to get your opinion as someone who has investigated people, who has questioned people, who's gone through this with other human beings. How does Jeffrey Lacass read to you as a person, as being a reliable source?
It's a great question because there's multiple layers with him. And first of all, I will say he's extremely credible in the content he's providing in definitely the area of leads, thoughts, and ideas for investigators to follow, because if you just watch throughout the video, by the way, I think he would make just he himself a great Bravo series of Life with the Adelsons. I mean, I was, because I'm sorry to digress, Tony, but you sent me the clips to watch, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't just watch the clips. I'd literally watch it from beginning to end. I couldn't put the damn thing down because he is just such a fascinating character.
Yeah.
Because of this. So his tempo of disclosure, so as a behaviorist, is very consistent. He was very congruent, very forthright when he was volunteering information, which what investigators are doing is like, how fast and freely are you volunteering information that's easy to give? And then when they ask a more challenging question, are you still maintaining that same tempo, that same tenor, the intonation, the voice? Is everything maintained in a baseline? Because that's when you're assessing, is there high probability of veracity and truth there? And so he is completely congruent on everything, with a few exceptions, and I'll get to that in a second. But so he's very credible in a lot of those areas. Where he loses some credibility is he is under deeply, self-admittedly, the spell of Wendi. Hardcore. So you don't know quite whether he's saying things when he's trying to defend her, whether it's out of objectivity or because he even said it, a 1% chance of getting back together with her. So that actually kind of hits his credibility a little bit, but at the same time, though, he's aware of it. So it was a really fascinating read. The thing that really struck me was when he was going through the things he heard Charlie say. Now, granted, Charlie's convicted, so we know it's guilty. And I know the focus right now is on Wendi and the mother. But what was interesting was he remembered, the first thing that struck me with him, he had such a memory for dates and even times, like without having to go back to notes, or he didn't even prepare because he came right from this cross-country trip right to the cops and started regurgitating information. That was profound. And he even said, I have a really sharp memory for these types of things, except when he's asked, and you saw right there in the clip, do you remember exactly when this happened? And he didn't remember when that really profound thing was stated. So he was truthful in it, but it was just curious that he didn't remember that exact date. So those kind of things, it's a blip from he remembers dates of everyone except this one. So high levels of veracity with him. So he would be a lead generator. That's how I'd regard him.
So if we put Jeff, Wendi, and who else on an island together, we can make the reality show. I say Bobby Brown. I say bring Bobby Brown back. He was great on the Whitney Houston show back in the day. The Being Bobby Brown, that was a good one.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, just mix them all in. It'd be great.
And Charlie the convict, the dentist who surrounds himself with green berets. What?
Yeah. What is that about? Have you guys talked about that? What is that kind of dynamic? Why did he do that?
Yeah, and this is talked about in the greater context of the interview. If you watch it in whole, Charlie is always bragging about how he's friends with these Green Berets, and he tends to align himself with militant type individuals or people who have some sort of a military background. I don't know if it's give me some insight on that and why one is walking around bragging about this when you're a dentist.
Right? I mean, the two don't go together, do they?
No.
It's just insecurities. So here's pure conjecture on this one. So here's a boy, and I'll say boy because he is a boy.
Yeah.
That was under his mother's thumb for so long, maybe even bullied because being a mama's boy. And so his way of not being his mama's boy dentist is surround himself by tough guys and to try to be a tough guy yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, the people he's dating, I mean, is bizarre and questionable in terms of, okay, you're a professional. Why are you remotely close to someone that has that close of a tie to the Latin Kings? It doesn't make any sense. Like that's not the same ecosystem. Like why you don't want to put yourself in a world where you're that close to crime. It's not the world you live in. It's
the world he feels most comfortable in.
That's true. Yep. That's an interesting point, Robin. It is. So why is that?
Because that's where his mind is. He's not a dentist in his mind, and that's the way of making his money that his mommy wanted him to do. But if you are aligning and you feel more comfortable with that level of character, these degenerates, and not saying Green Beret, but where you're dealing with drug dealers, the fact you're able to find hitmen, they're just without batting an eyelash, it kind of shows you who you're aligning yourself with. Remember, we're always going to act in our own best interest in terms of our safety, security, and prosperity. We do things and surround ourselves with people that allow us to feel safe from our own perspective and own context. These people allowed him to feel safe and comfortable with who he was. They didn't challenge who he was. So that's where he saw himself. And so he was a poser in all these other areas. And so when you bring in someone, like is the doctor, Dr. Jeffrey Lacass there as the ex-boyfriend. So here's a guy who's really, really well educated. Seems like a pretty decent guy, a little neurotic. And so he challenges Charlie without even trying to challenge Charlie because he's just comfortable with who he is. He just is really fixated on his sister. And so it's an interesting dynamic to watch, insecure people with more secure people, and a sister who's manipulating the hell out of everyone in her life around her, and then a mother who's trying to control everything. That's what I mean. Is this not a reality show or what?
Well, I gotta go back and go, okay, well, why is Charlie acting that way? He's a poser with money and power, essentially. And that's how he's kind of able to operate around, some of these folks that are, chilling with hitmen and things of that nature, because he has something that they want, money and power. But the problem with it is, why does he feel comfortable acting that way? I mean, he was brought up in this very fortunate life, this very lifestyle that was not, in the hood. So what does that say though about the actions of Donna or the people in general that he was brought up around, that sort of behavior, that sort of darker, controlling, we're somehow relating this to the streets and hitmen type mentality of a family that seemed to really on the surface come across as country club.
Well, that's part of it too. Is these are people he can control more easily. He can try to impress them, and so it's part of who he's comfortable with. It's part of who he's control. Need more data points on this crazy family because every time you turn over a rock, you're like, wow, there's 5 things under that rock I never knew were there.
Yeah.
So I just, again, it's part of the control issue with everyone in this family. Learn behaviors of control, of psychological guilt and shame that are implied by others. I guarantee you the mother was doing that.
Yeah.
So he just learned behaviors from her of how you control others and who to control.
And how interesting that then translated more into folks like this that are willing to go take out and do a hit than the country club image that Donna was trying to portray. But more deep down, Donna was more street, at least in her mind,
than from New York.
How interesting. I mean, this is all conjecture, obviously. Sure. Let's take another look at some more from Jeff and his testimony, or this is him talking to police in the interrogation. Also remembered Wendi talking about how trapped she felt in Tallahassee, tied there only because of her custody battle with Dan. And in one of those late night conversations, he says she let slip a remark that would later sound almost prophetic, that life would be far easier if Dan just wasn't around anymore. Take a look.
We're also talking about us, because I was like, would you ever leave under any circumstances? Yeah, I know you don't love it here. Am I going to be dating you for 2 years and you just move? She's like, I can't because of Danny. And she said, yeah, it doesn't matter. Something about it would be convenient if Danny wasn't around anymore. But, once he was wanting to happen to him or something like that. She said, but Charlie actually looked into how that would be done and how much it would cost. She might have said, I think, Charlie. I don't remember. But it was chilling. In the moment, I was like, my stomach flipped. I was like, whoa.
The crux of the statement is my brother Charlie has looked into how much it would cost to
take care of somebody. Yeah. This guy has very little empathy. He's just a weird guy. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying if you're looking at somebody, you can't miss Charlie. I think that's more likely than a romantic thing.
I mean, so this very much shows us that she had some knowledge of, Charlie was thinking down this possible line of where to go. But what does that say, Robin, about someone who just feels that open, that easy to share in the relationship, that my brother was thinking of hiring a hitman? It's not just it would be easier if life, if they weren't here or whatnot. It's literally going to the direction and the steps that would need to be taken to remove this person from the planet.
I think Wendi just has unintentional leakage.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot. I think she felt comfortable with him, and because he's disarming. He's a disarming guy. And so, she felt comfortable with him. She's known him a while, and she's talking about her situation because he's obviously just trying to completely influence and persuade her to stay local there. And she's kind of explaining the ways in which that could happen. And, inside the family dynamic itself, because I thought about this a lot too. So what's the likelihood that Wendi knew? What's the likelihood of Donna being part of this? The fact that they don't seem to really, and even at first I was thinking that they're protecting Wendi, and yeah, they're very protective of Wendi, but this family communicates emotionally, not pragmatic or cognitively or thoughtfully necessarily a lot of times. And so when you have an emotional regulation issue like Charlie definitely seems to have, that means you run through things out of your mouth. And so the fact that people started understanding what his intentions were is not surprising, because he runs off at the mouth, which would eventually get to Wendi. And since she has learned behavior from the rest of the family of not being able to regulate what comes out of your mouth, the world's going to know. I mean, this is why watching dumb people do dumb things is hilarious, because these people are a bunch of friggin' morons that just run off at the mouth. I mean, just watching emotional people operate with their lower brain and not their higher brain is just, it's comical sometimes. If it wasn't so tragic that someone lost their life, which is also interesting too. You and I had mentioned this on one of the previous episodes, that I was really curious about why Wendi divorced Dan. Yeah. And it makes more sense. But again, it's Dr. Jeff's interpretation from his optic, and granted that's got a bias to it. But I thought this was very revealing on that end as well, because I was trying to understand what's the animus that, what was the impetus for this whole action. It makes a lot more sense now just watching it, watching stupid people do stupid things because stupid people are pissed off.
They all seem to have a real problem keeping their mouths shut.
Yeah, they do.
Every single member of this family, nobody knows when to shut up. I mean, from their phone calls to each other to everything. It's just nobody can hold anything back, and it's all to their detriment.
Right.
Can I throw something in, Robin? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, sorry, Stacey. I was occupying too much time, as always.
No, not at all. Not at all. Please. My question is, could there have been an alternate universe where they took out the mother? You know what I mean? Like, we've had enough of her shit. Let's get the hitman and go after her and be done with her. And so that we can live our lives. I mean, that's where my brain goes, is like, why did they go after Dan? Why didn't they go after her?
Well, because they had the allegiance to mom. Now, I get what you're saying.
I think it's just a lifetime of reps.
Yeah.
You know, so when you have a lifetime of growing up under that, and granted, it was controlling, it was unhealthy, but one of the reasons why they have such open communication, as you're noting, with each other is because they felt safe together. I mean, because you didn't really see Wendi fighting mom and dad coming all the way up to drive the 30-something-year-old back down to Florida. I mean, to Southern Florida where they live, and treating her like a 6-year-old. You know, none of these things from, again, the optic we're getting, you know, from Dr. Jeff here none of these behaviors seem surprising inside that circle.
Sure.
And so for them now, what I do see, and Stacey, to your point, I think what's happened is that older brother definitely did. The older brother's like, you people are a bunch of wackadoos. You know, you got all broken brains. I'm fleeing the coop on you nutters. And so I think what you're seeing is he is the objective one.
Yeah.
Though I get the sense from limited data that he didn't burn necessarily any bridges. He just made them very null.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now that he re-entered the picture, bringing some objectivity, and you're seeing people pointing the fingers at each other, and they're seeing some objectivity. That's why you're seeing some cracks and fissures happen here. But it's really challenging for them because every time they have an inclination, maybe to your point, to go against the mother, that would invalidate their own opinion of their own behaviors for their entire lives. And that's very, very difficult for human beings to do. Typically, when do we see things like that happen? When people hit rock bottom. And so when you have that breaking aha moment, I have nothing else to lose moment. And I don't think any of them reached that yet. Although I don't think we're going to see a lot of tears shed when she goes to jail if she's convicted of this thing.
There might be a sense of relief that finally this horrible mastermind, puppet master, can no longer pull the strings, but who knows what she can do behind bars too.
Yeah. And sense of relief is interesting. I don't know if they'll immediately necessarily feel a sense of relief if she was such a big sense of comfort for so many years. I think it'll be a period of confusion as the veil of that oppression starts lifting and they start seeing, wow, there's a whole world outside this little bubble I was kind of unaware of before.
Yeah.
But again, pure conjecture, but just from what we're observing and seeing play out, seems to make some sense.
And that's assuming that they stay out of prison. That's assuming Wendi doesn't get charged. Assuming that assumes Harvey's not going to be charged.
That's a big question right now.
That's a whole other conversation. Yeah, I mean, that's a very big question right now. According to Lacass, Charlie wasn't shy about voicing how much he despised Dan. It wasn't just those little comments here and there. He says it wasn't just those offhanded grumblings. It was repeated, blunt, and said with a lot of venom, words you do not easily forget. Let's take a look.
Fiercely protective of Wendi. And I've heard him say, I'd like to kill that motherfucker. I mean, I've heard him say that so many times. Now, I said that out loud too, and I didn't do it. But there's something different about Charlie. He reminds me of like an antisocial.
Charlie's an older brother?
Yeah.
She's the baby girl?
She's the baby girl.
Is Charlie older or younger than this one up in Albany?
He's the middle kid, I think.
Charlie is?
Yeah. If you had him in front of you, he'd set off your alarm bells.
Ooh, that's powerful.
People say that stuff all the time, though. I got to kill him. I'm going to kill him. You know, not in
my world.
I want to say I've heard people,
how much it's going to cost either. You just go, oh my God, I'm so mad, I'm going to kill you.
When you get into cost, to cost benefit analysis, that's where it changes.
It just shows the stupidity of these people. How many times, Tony, have we seen these people like this that are, because you're always thinking, well, it's definitely premeditated because you hired someone, but how much intelligence did you have to actually do something stupid like lay the groundwork for people to say, you know, like Dr. Jeff did. As soon as he heard this, his first thought was, oh, it's Charlie.
I mean,
if you're doing a good job of trying to take out your sister's ex-husband because he's this horrendous person according to you, and you're trying to battle for the kids. The last thing you want to do is lay all the pebbles. You're not just laying breadcrumbs, you're paving an entire road right to yourself. I mean, the fact he even thought he could get away with this when there's so many people.
Yeah. I
mean, you got an ex-boyfriend, and she was dating how many other boyfriends that she's probably sharing the same information with, according to Dr. Jeff, who felt like a jilted lover.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he did.
Well, I mean, what does it say too about Charlie and about the ego of these people, that they feel the need to say these things out loud for the immediate gratification of those around them without in any way, shape, or form thinking about how could this come bite me in the ass? Like, if this does happen, and I just told all these people that I looked into this. I mean, there's no thought pattern beyond the immediate, and the immediate, this must make me feel good right now. I'm going to say it. It makes me puff out my chest, and look, I'm protecting my sister, and I'm saying this in front of the boyfriend. There's no thought that there could be any repercussions from saying these things out loud that are very, very damning. I mean, this is not just like, hey, going to go slash his tires, or I got a friend who's going to do that. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to find him as someone who's going to kill him. I'm looking into it financially, how to get this done. No thought. And that, to me, I mean, it's kind of baffling considering how far Charlie did get in life. He was a doctor. I mean, that takes a little bit of school, a little bit of common sense.
So no one in his life to this point have challenged him on the things he said.
Yeah.
It's pretty, and you said it right when you stated it, Tony, and that is, if he has a lifetime of reps of being unfiltered, and no one has pushed back to the degree that it impacted him of his unfiltered, stupid mouth, then he's going to feel completely safe to say those things. And where else have we seen this? What other case recently of a big notoriety person who's got even more, a boatload more money than Charlie? Did he?
Right?
Yeah.
You know, these people live in their own world where it is their own universe. And when you live in your own universe, you feel very safe in your own universe. And you don't realize that outside an extremely small circle of people, the rest of the world thinks you're a nutter, and they're going to get you. So, and people fall into that trap, and because unhealthy behaviors really become insular like this. And so, but to themselves, they thought they're completely healthy and completely normal. They thought the rest of the world's all screwed up. And so that's why he felt completely safe. Although I'm giving him more credit than I should in the fact that he thought about it before he said it. He didn't. He's got zero impulse control.
And it seems like Donna doesn't have much impulse control either. So I'm going, oh, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. No. It's not hard to understand Charlie's actions when you look at the impulsivity and neuroticism of Donna.
Yeah, no kidding. And she raised her kids to do the same thing. So Charlie, according to Dr. Jeff, has 3 girlfriends at any one time. And it sounded like Wendi did too.
Yeah.
Do you think it's that they need that constant validation from outside sources?
Oh, yeah.
That's what feeds borderlines. That's what feeds narcissists. It's all the image. It's feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. And when you're not getting that constant feedback, they feel dead, basically.
And very skilled. So it'd be interesting too. So we heard on the reverse side with Charlie about this horrendous side we saw when his guard might have been down where he felt more comfortable because he's surrounded by people in his control sphere. But he is a dentist. He did have a practice. And so I'm not sure because I don't know, but I would have conjecture that he was probably had the potential to be extremely charismatic outside of his sphere of control and feeling safe, because he would have to have been to get through dental school, to get through education, to have a clientele and all these things. Because the only thing I'm thinking of, well, Wendy's extremely charismatic. She attracted people to her all the time because that's what Dr. Jeff saw with not just himself, but all the other guys. As a matter of fact, he was so concerned about anything he's saying coming out, just in case she wants to get back together with him. I'd imagine that, like you said, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. When you're outside of where Charlie felt safe and he felt like he had to manipulate the world as great sociopaths and psychopaths have to do, he might have been and come across very charismatic and very invigorating to some people.
Yeah, no, I see that. When news of Dan's murder broke, detectives asked Lacass who he suspected. His answer? Well, was pretty instant. He says the very first person who came to mind within seconds of hearing it was Wendy's brother, Charlie. Here's how he described that.
To me, this isn't a botched burglary or something like that. He's the first, it probably popped into my head within 20 seconds of hearing this.
Wow.
Boom. There's your answer.
That's called a mic drop mic drop moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think something like that would be, yeah, it's him. If that's the first thing, and you just touched on it, Robin, too, if that's the first thing that's coming to your mind, I'm going to just, accuracy, usually those first thoughts can be pretty accurate.
Now you just explore what makes you say that.
Yeah.
Not why, because why can be very subjective to people, but you say what specifically did you observe that allowed you to say that inspired you to say that? And then you just go like I thought these interviewers were really good, except the one guy that just kept getting called, and that was just really distracting.
Mm-hmm.
But as interviewers, I thought they did a really good job of being very pragmatic, very objective, just the facts, man, but at the same time balancing out with rapport that they needed, because they got a lot of details from him. Now, granted, he was extremely compliant. He was all on board with being helpful and useful. Which is also interesting because it was interesting watching him absolutely hate Charlie, but absolutely adore Wendi. Yeah.
When he also knows the toxicity of Wendi, which I found, it's like he was wooed by her feminine wilds. He couldn't resist the Wendi Adelson. Lacass also painted a picture of Charlie as a man who bragged about bending the rules. Again, this speaks, I think, a lot more to what we were talking earlier about Charlie and the family in general. They don't know when to shut up. They're sitting in the hot tub one night together, and he's sitting there talking about life and money and hiding money and moving assets around and putting things in other people's names, like you do when you're relaxing in the hot tub. Take a look.
Myself in the hot tub one time. She thinks Wendi said.
When was this?
March 15th-ish. I was there for the one day with him. I stayed at his house.
Of this year?
Yes. Wendi and him were talking. I'm just listening. I just met him an hour earlier. We're sitting in the hot tub having a beer. It's a really nice house. And I guess this is what occurred.
Was anybody else in the hot tub with you guys?
Not during this part of the conversation. Another guy, his roommate, came in eventually, and they just started to talk about girls and stuff like that. But and I'm not trying to play cop here, but I do know one thing you'd be looking for is a lump sum of money moving around and some kind of crazy stuff happened. And I think there's a lot of financial irregularities. I think there's a lot of tax fraud kind of stuff, of putting stuff in different people's names and moving money around, and there might be cash. I don't know exactly what, but he's not doing anything on the up and up in his finances. It was pretty clear. He was pretty open about that. So I thought about if you guys.
I think a forensic accountant might be in order.
I think there might be a whole other line of charges here.
Oh, no doubt.
That should be looked at. I would imagine by now. Do you think the IRS has done an audit on the Adelsons by now, Robin?
So following the money is always what they're going to do in these things. So anything having to do with that is definitely under investigation or has been or still ongoing.
Yeah.
No doubt whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, the fact that they're sitting there, but it also makes me wonder, and this would be just pure speculation, what other crimes is this family behind, if any? I don't know, but it seems like they were pretty, easy to do this and move some money around, or is this grandstanding? Is this because it was new and it was exciting and Charlie got to be kind of the bad guy for a little bit, that he was so verbose about it and speaking about it like he's some sort of made man in a very foolish way, like one would do who has zero experience in this type of world?
Yeah, he goes. To me, it sounds like shock impact. For the new guy, the new boyfriend that shows up and to be the big guy. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to other crimes a family may or may not have done, they kind of strike me as the group that kind of has a decent idea, because there's lawyers in the family, of where that gray line is, and they kind of ride that gray line. So remember that, as we've said numerous times, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's ethical. And I think they probably did a lot of things like that.
Good point.
I'm curious, at what point, you don't just wake up one day and go, we're going to kill somebody. So I think there had to have been an escalation. Does that seem like a fair assessment? That they've just been doing this stuff forever and this was maybe the next step?
I think there was probably a triggering event. So if we look at, because definitely an escalation, you know, that's why this was such a great interview to watch. It gave me a lot of different context. This was definitely an escalation of frustration with the family as a whole, including Wendi, because I was really curious about what she thought about this, or was she being bullied by the mother and Charlie to divorce this guy. But according to the ex-boyfriend, you know, this was an escalation that the family was having an issue with because of him. And I'm guessing there was a triggering event. There's usually a triggering event. And when you have someone like Charlie, and probably think all of them, that are having a hard time with emotional regulation, that he, as you said, he probably didn't wake up one morning and said, I'm just going to kill the guy. Maybe. So he might have just had this epiphany of not being able to get what he wanted. I keep trying, because you can imagine him. So here's this guy who's an absolute control freak, a mother who's an absolute control freak, and everything they're trying is not working. For the first time in their lives, they haven't been able to bully someone into what they want. And so probably reached that point, maybe even together, where they work themselves up so much, because that's why she's on trial, work themselves up too much. Well, screw it. I'll just hire a hitman.
Yeah.
It's your time to fly, Charlie, I think is kind of what it was looked at from the perspective of Donna, if we're going to assume that she is behind it. You know, just same way, Wendi, you have to put on the performance of your life. Like, it's time for you guys to stand up on yourselves and manipulate the world around you the same way me and Father have for all of this time. That's kind of what it feels like in some of this. A triggering event, I think it was Dan. It was Dan finally saying, I'm done with your BS. I'm taking this to court and I'm getting this order against your mom that says that she can't have any contact with the kids. I think that was a triggering event. I think that's what made Donna go to Charlie and I can't sleep. I just need this. And then Charlie's going to Catherine. My mom can't sleep. I don't know what's going to happen. And she's like, well, have her start writing me some checks. We'll take care of the problem. And they're like, problem solved.
Yeah, you know, and when it comes to Wendi, because again, when you're seeing their family communication dynamic, and also how, and even Dr. Jeff said that they protect her, they don't exclude her. And so my thought process is, I can imagine that they were having these conversations, not intentionally around her, but not intentionally excluding her, but just not including her. And so kind of like she was aware that Charlie thought this because he said it in her presence. The probability of her not being shocked that this happened, because one thing, she knew it, but also kind of the details, she probably, not probably, who knows. I could imagine that she was aware of what was going on. As soon as she saw like checks being passed, things being said, she walked away. I don't want to be included. Or they said, hey, you know, like, hold on a second, Wendi, why don't you go take care of the kids? So you can kind of see one of those things where it's not a huge covert op, because these people are incapable of covert ops outside this family dynamic. I mean, inside the family dynamic. And so that's why I think it was a very fluid situation internally.
Then how much responsibility does she bear if she knew about it?
Isn't it?
I mean, if she had nothing to do with the planning, but she also didn't go to the police and say, hey, my family's planning on killing my ex-husband either. I mean, that seems to be the part that she's left to bear. Knowledge of it. Yeah, I mean, that's something. I mean, it's like, I'm trying to think of some sort of analogy here. It's like going into the mall food court and knowing that they're selling orange chicken over there, but you don't want to get too close because they're going to come up to you with a sample and you don't want to have this. You just want to keep going.
Why you got to go to the food?
But
like
you
that?
know the sample's over there and you can smell the orange chicken and you know it's there, but you're not going to partake in the orange
Damn
chicken.
it, Tony.
Yeah.
So I think what's the challenge with that is how do you prove it?
Yeah.
So if there's no text messages, there's no voice overhears, and no one's admitting to it, how do you prove it? So and that's the challenge.
Because she's been around this family before, because she's had these conversations with this family before. But the fact that the conversations exist, does that mean that she was in on it. I guess that's the thing.
But I don't know the
And
law
what's in
in Florida. You know, what's your culpability of knowledge without doing something about it?
Exactly.
I know there's some, but I'm not quite. Again, it's going to come down to the prosecutor and what they think they can go for and prosecute.
True.
And so again, what is striking me of if the mother cared so much about the family, she would have taken the fall for everyone, including at this point, like we've said the other day, Tony. If she gets on the stand and says, it's all me, no one knew anything, I dictated this entire thing, and she just owns it, that would actually rally everyone in the family around her instead of, you know, kind of having leakage all over the place of what they really think or coming to discover about her. And so, but I don't think she's going to do that. I think she's going to go up and try to be her doppelganger.
Do you think she's going to go up on that stand and like throw everyone to the wolves? Like Wendi knew this.
I don't have any data. I would love to. I haven't really seen her speak too much. And so I want more of her because it's hard to really kind of get in her shoes unless I've seen more of her shoes. That's good.
Because it feels like everybody's a weird sentence.
Right?
Hard to get in her shoes.
I've seen more of her. I was just watching Mindhunter last night, and it was what's his name who was obsessed with women's shoes.
Oh yeah, that's creepy.
Anyway, but it does make you wonder what she's capable of, because I think everybody is treading a bit lightly around Donna right now, because she has power. She does. As much as she doesn't, she does. And she has the power to incriminate every single person in that family and put them behind bars for the rest of their lives. Just by going up there and saying whatever she wants. And I think they know that, except for the one son that got away. He's the only one I think that's safe. But everybody else, I think she could obliterate Charlie's appeal chances more than he already doesn't have them. But I think she could also put Charlie behind bars, put Harvey behind bars, and Wendi.
Maybe even unintentionally because she's so stupid.
Yeah, either or. I mean, I could see her trying to play it off as like, oh, oops, did I say that? You know, kind of Steve Urkel-ish.
I don't think she would, though.
No,
no, because when you keep going. Boy, it's easy to kind of put evil acts on people from the outside looking in, but internally they don't see themselves as evil, bad people. So think about this. From what we learned from Dr. Jeff, they see themselves as these righteous warriors trying to do the best thing they possibly can against this pure evil person, Dan, the ex-husband, to save these children. They all thought that's the crusade they're on. And the mother is shocked that no one's going along with that mindset.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're there to betray each other because they were very unified in the fact that they're trying to save these children. Again, their mindset. That's how they rationalize this abhorrent behavior. That's why when Charlie woke up one morning saying, "Hey, I got a great idea," the mother's like, "Huh. That might be
Let's
pretty good.
go to Showbiz Pizza and have lunch, Charlie. I know you're 38, but you can go in the ball tank and play around and ride the merry-go-round.
And go get your little sister.
Yeah, go get her too. I know she's 30-something, but let's all go together. Hold hands. We'll wear the same jumpsuits that we got at Kmart. Charlie,
same ones in jail.
I bet those are the folks that would go get like the American flag jumpsuits and wore them proudly, to the 4th of July picnic in 1992. They're all like,
what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Charlie wasn't just a wealthy dentist with a Ferrari. Lacass told detectives he also surrounded himself with men who lived on the other side of the tracks, including, he said, a special forces buddy with military experience, the kind of people who could make things happen. Here's Charlie grandstanding now.
Her brother is an unusual guy. Not much empathy. He's a dentist and he's very wealthy, but he kind of hangs out with people from both sides of the tracks. And, he goes partying in South Beach with his rich buddies, and he also goes to his gym with some other kinds of characters kind of thing. So
some less savory individuals?
I think so. Yeah, he's got a buddy who was special forces.
Okay. You talked about a couple of guys. You talked about Miguel
Yeah.
and the Patel individual, and you
Yeah.
said there was 3 or 4 total.
I'm just trying to think. Hold on. That might be it actually. But yeah, Daniel. That was 3. Daniel Sack. I can't imagine any of those people had anything to do with this, but those are people that were. If you don't know anything about Sack's relationship, Miguel and Hula definitely really into Wendi, obviously.
So he's hanging out with not the nicest folks.
It's fine. I just love Dr. Jeff. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, not the nicest folks in the world. Folks on both sides of the tracks, according to him. I guess I'd like to know more about that pattern of behavior. Was Charlie always hanging with the folks that, you know, were on the other side of the tracks, according to Jeff, or was this something that he had to kind of wade into to try and make mom happy by getting connections that were not necessarily ones that we're going to make at the country club?
Well, it's a really good question. Whether that's a new pattern or an established pattern, I would think he had been doing that much of his life because otherwise he wouldn't be so comfortable doing it. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Jeff strikes me as a guy, he would have picked up on whether Charlie was comfortable doing it in this kind of situation. He probably would have highlighted it because Dr. Jeff seems pretty observant of people's behavior and changes in those patterns. And so to him, it seemed completely natural and normal for Charlie to do that. I think he would have given some sort of inclination that Charlie didn't feel quite comfortable doing it. He seemed a little awkward in his own language and his own body. I mean, so there'd be he would notice something with his behavior when talking about those people or those situations. But it seems, again, I don't have that history of Charlie strong enough to know that. But my guess is he's been doing that and hanging out with people from all over a long period of time. Also because, you know, so glass half full here, they seem to, with the exception of killing Dan, that they're making an attempt to, you know, from maybe a kind of twisted, you know, of not judging. You know, because I mean, the behavior by Charlie seems pretty open to others. Again, it's part of his dynamic of controlling others, but at the same time, he seemed comfortable around him. So what makes someone feel comfortable is like you can identify with them. And it wasn't just shady people, because as Dr. Jeff was saying, they're from all different walks of life. So he's got other people that are making high money. He's got people that are military. He's got people that are actually hit killers. I mean, hitmen. I mean, so it was kind of eclectic and all over. So I'm really kind of curious as to how Charlie identified with all these other people with all these different varied backgrounds. There's something about them that he was attracted to, and I'd be curious what that pattern was.
I'm going to guess Charlie and maybe even Wendi to a certain extent both have struggled with their own identities because they've been extensions of mom for so long. You don't have them. So, I mean, there's like a very thin sense of what that is. Not like to the level of like Brian Koberger not having any clue, but when you're enmeshed with a narcissistic parent, yeah, I mean, you're not that's something you're not allowed to have as your own personality. You got to be an extension of that person. And then as you get older into adulthood, some break off and some do not. One of the most haunting sequences here, Lacass described the last time he saw Wendi alive before the killing. A yoga class, an awkward goodbye, an email from her therapist hours later telling him not to contact her. And then just 3 days after that, Dan Markel was murdered. Take a look at this.
So Tuesday night we go to yoga, really awkward, most awkward yoga ever. And we walk to the car and I said, "Love you, Wendi." She goes, "I know, need some time." I said, "Okay." And I get an email with a no contact order 2 hours later. I think her therapist suggested she do this. I think her therapist, my suspicion is that Wendi told her one side of the story and I was cast as the abusive male because Danny is not good to her and she's on the lookout for an abusive male. Danny was emotionally abusive. Anyway, I get this email saying, "Don't contact me for 7 days and then I'll get in touch," which I was not happy about. But a control grab for me. Let's just talk or just break up with me, you know. But anyway, so Wednesday, Thursday, hear nothing. She posts those pictures on Facebook with her boobs hanging out, and people are telling me she's messing with you on the internet. I don't know if that was true or not. And then Friday, So I haven't heard from her. She's was supposed to contact me tomorrow. I don't think
How do you know she was supposed to contact
you? She
you?
said 7 days.
Okay. So that thing, the email.
Yeah. It's not contact you in 7 days.
So that you think that's something her therapist recommend her do to give her time to think? And
that's my guess.
Let the air clear a little bit.
That's my guess. If you Google it, it's how you break up with an emotionally abusive guy. Give yourself 7 days away from him so he can't convince you to stay. So that's what I saw when I Googled it, because I never heard of this. No girl's ever done that. That's bizarre, right? I mean, anyway, so that was 3 days later. This happens. Danny gets shot.
I would put money that Jeff is exactly right. That she's painted this guy to be a certain character to her therapist. And then the therapist gives, okay, here's the directive of what you should do, even though it has nothing to do with the actual person, but it's the way you've painted them. So that person's giving you directive on how to deal with something over here that's not actually there.
Yeah. Part of me that was also saying, was this Charlie giving her direction? Because I know part of the theory here were they getting ready to pin it on Dr. Jeff? I
think they were trying to. Yeah. I think it was a very loose, dumb plan.
Yeah. And so I could definitely see that playing out, like Charlie saying, hey, here's what I need you to do. Break contact with this dude now, because we're going to try to pin it on him.
Yeah. And tell your therapist that I would love to get those notes. I think that could be, I don't know if you can subpoena that, because, well, you have a murder involved here.
Yeah, I would think you could.
I mean, I think that goes into mandatory reporting at that point.
Right.
So I'd be very curious about those notes if they were to look closer into Wendi, because that would be extreme. That would probably answer all the questions of, what was she aware of and when.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, because you get that phone call from Wendi all those days later, which does end up happening. And where were you at this time? What about this time there? And it puts him where he would have been close to the murder scene, or where they did this conversation before the murders took place, and then they had the hitmen go to those areas. So this is their dumbass plan. It was simply find out where he's going to be, and then let's have them go there. Then we can say it was him. Problem solved. I mean, it's like
it just really shows how people like this think. They think everyone else is completely stupid and they're the only smart people in the world.
It's Sesame Street murder plotting. I mean, it's
like you said, it's Bugs Bunny, man.
It really is. When it came to Wendi's family, Lacass said they weren't just close, they were suffocating. This is a really interesting one. He described parents who still chauffeured her around at age 35, a family that treated her like a child, and an unhealthy grip that kept her tethered to South Florida. This explains a lot. Take a look.
Family, it's important that you know this, actually, man. The family is so unhealthily enmeshed, so completely enmeshed, that Wendi is not really an adult. When she drives to South Florida, every single time those two parents drive up here and drive with her down. They don't trust her to drive from Tallahassee to Miami. It's not a normal family. It's not like she's a 35-year-old that has 2 kids and come down to see us. It's complete enmeshment. It's a matter of they didn't infantilize her. She's considered the baby still. She's 35 years old. Charlie protects her.
You see how powerful she was, though? So even he knows it. He recognizes it. So I'm always amazed when people recognize unhealthy, yet they make the choice to stay.
Sure.
And still has hope of being let back into that circle of crazy. So
and the sad part is, I think it's because so many of us have had crazy in our life that for some reason, unconsciously, a lot of us, it's like, well, it feels comfortable.
I was just going to say, it's comfortable. It's what you've done for 20 years. It's what you do.
Yeah. And that's, even though we're very good at identifying it in other people, we're not the greatest at identifying it always in our own lives.
He was, though, and he's still making mistakes.
Yeah.
That's why he is so comical to me. He's become my favorite character in this entire thing.
He is.
He is such a. I would call him sad because he's got this dry wit about him. He doesn't even realize he's doing. Like the listening to him, like, do you realize how ludicrous you're sounding?
Yeah, and
she's get him for the show.
You're almost, I wonder how much the relationship there was like, I almost just want to get back into it just to watch more and just see what happens. I didn't even care.
I wanted it. And the funny thing to me, so this just happened and he's still hopeful she's going to call him. Dude, you should run fast and far.
Yeah,
and
they're
like,
trying.
She's still going to call me. There's still a 1% chance we'll get back together.
They're trying to frame you for murder.
You want into this family? What's wrong with you?
Something must have been really good for him to still have that.
Imagine the book you could write.
So that's why I'm not discounting Charlie's skill set, because, like we said, they learned it all from her.
Mm-hmm.
So Donna created these two. And so she's got the skill set. Obviously, this guy is living proof of it, and he's talking about how she's using it with everyone. Just looking at her on the stand, you can get a sense of it. Mm-hmm. But now, so as they're painting Charlie behind the scenes, it's hard to imagine that, because they seem like apples and oranges. They look so differently, but probably not. So he's probably got the skill set. But he just flips it on and off. I just think it's her natural state of being, that she just learned how to, Wendi learned how to just live as a grand manipulator of the world around her for feeling safe and control and all those things that she was lacking.
I imagine there's a lot of confusion in the world of Wendi these days. Just as a human being, just trying to ground herself into who the hell she is, especially now that she hasn't been in contact with mom for a couple of years. That's not there. Charlie's gone. All you got is, that's incredibly jarring. Take all the murder out of it. There's got to be a lot of confusion. That's
older brother.
Yeah.
That's why I have the older brother now.
There's a lot of therapy going on in that family, or there should be if there isn't.
Yeah. We'll see how much of that happens behind bars. Probably not a lot, but All right. Well, there you go. We're going to be seeing Donna, as far as we know, take the stand this week. That'll be very telling to see exactly what we get out of her. And I'm sure we will be breaking that down piece by piece. Robin Dreeke, of course, thank you for joining us. As always, his book, Unbreakable Alliances, get it wherever you get books or audiobooks. It is out there for you right now. And you out there, thank you for listening to our first and watching our first live edition of the program, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon every day. YouTube, Facebook, and on X is where it will be broadcast. So make an appointment to be there and join in with us, and be sure to leave your comments in the comment section as well. All right. Until next time, for everybody here, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.
All right.